Have you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up every morning surrounded by nothing but snow and ice? For most of us, it's hard to imagine. But for many families in Canada's far north, this wasn't an adventure. It was simply everyday life. Welcome to Second Chance. If you enjoy discovering remarkable stories from the past, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Every photograph we share keeps a piece of history alive. These vintage images take us back to a time when survival depended on knowledge, patience, and working together. There were no supermarkets just around the corner. No highways. No modern conveniences. Everything people needed came from the land, the sea, and the skills passed down from one generation to the next. Life in the Arctic demanded strength. But it also taught resilience. Every day began with a purpose. Food wasn't taken for granted. It had to be earned through hard work, careful planning, and deep respect for nature. One of the most remarkable traditions was fishing through thick ice. Imagine standing on a frozen landscape, cutting a hole through solid ice, and patiently waiting in the freezing cold. It wasn't a hobby. It was how families put food on the table. Every catch mattered. Nothing was wasted. People learned to use every part of what nature provided. That wisdom helped entire communities survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Looking at these photographs, it's easy to admire their determination. The cold may have been unforgiving, but so was their spirit. These weren't people looking for an easier life. They were people making the best of the life they had. And somehow, they found joy in it. Children still laughed. Families stayed close. Neighbors helped one another. Even in a world covered by snow, warmth could always be found in the people around them. Perhaps that's why these photographs continue to inspire us today. They remind us that true strength isn't measured by comfort. It's measured by courage, kindness, and the ability to face each new day with hope. And this is only the beginning of our journey. In the next chapter, we'll discover how families raised children, built strong communities, and created a meaningful life in one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. As we continue our journey, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. These photographs are not only about surviving the cold. They're about people. They're about families. And they're about a way of life built on helping one another. In places where winter lasted for months, no one could truly make it alone. Neighbors shared knowledge. Families shared responsibilities. Even the youngest children learned that every person had an important role. Looking at these faces, you don't just see hardship. You see pride. You see confidence. And you see people who understood the value of working together. Children grew up learning by watching. There were no instruction manuals. No online videos. Skills were passed from parents to children, and from grandparents to grandchildren. They learned how to fish, how to travel safely across the ice, how to read the weather, and perhaps most importantly, how to respect the land that provided everything they needed. For many of us today, it's easy to forget how connected people once were to nature. Every season mattered. Every decision mattered. The Arctic wasn't something to conquer. It was something to understand. That respect created a balance between people and the environment that lasted for generations. One of the most touching parts of these old photographs is seeing the children. Despite the harsh climate, they still found reasons to smile. They played. They explored. They stayed close to their families. Their childhood may have looked very different from ours, but the joy in their faces feels familiar. Love doesn't depend on where you live. Whether in a busy city or on the frozen shores of the Arctic, family has always been at the heart of every community. Perhaps that's what these images remind us of the most. Real wealth isn't always measured by what people own. Sometimes it's measured by the strength of their relationships, by the trust they have in one another, and by the willingness to face every challenge together. These remarkable people remind us that resilience isn't only about surviving difficult times. It's about preserving hope, passing on traditions, and never forgetting who you are. In our final chapter, we'll reflect on the lessons these extraordinary lives can still teach us today, and why these photographs continue to inspire people around the world. As our journey comes to an end, these photographs leave us with something far more valuable than memories. They leave us with perspective. It's easy to look at these frozen landscapes and see only the harsh conditions, the endless snow, the freezing temperatures, the long Arctic winters. But the people who lived here saw something different. They saw home, a place where families grew together, where traditions were passed from one generation to the next, where every season brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to work together. Perhaps that's why these images continue to touch so many hearts today. They remind us that happiness doesn't always come from having more. Sometimes it comes from appreciating what we already have. These families didn't live easy lives. Every meal required effort. Every journey demanded courage. Every winter tested their determination. Yet when we look into their faces, we don't just see hardship. We see dignity. We see resilience. And we see people who refuse to let difficult circumstances define their spirit. There is something timeless about that lesson. Our world has changed in countless ways. Technology has made life faster and more convenient. But these photographs remind us that some of the most important things have never changed. Family, kindness, respect for nature, helping one another, and finding joy in the little moments. Those values are just as meaningful today as they were many decades ago. Perhaps that's the true reason these vintage photographs continue to inspire us. They aren't simply preserving history. They're preserving humanity. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Canada's far north. If you enjoyed exploring these remarkable stories, we'd love to have you with us again. Please subscribe to Second Chance, where every photograph tells a story, every story keeps history alive, and every journey reminds us that the past still has something to teach the present. Until next time, take care of one another, and never stop appreciating the strength, courage, and wisdom of those who came before us.